Well, it looks like Don's on the phone with somebody. Bless you. Ah, yes. Well, it blew the dust out of my speakers, that's for sure. I guess we should all wear masks in case a computer virus. There's Robbie. Hi, Robbie. Yes, so I guess you heard the story about the plug and drive trailer. Yeah. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, because presumably they'll start to organize some more events, this in the next few months. So yeah, it's a shame if it's put out of action for a while.
Yeah, well, there's nothing. Plug and Drive just told me that they've got nothing planned for BC for the rest of the year, but that trailer's got to move to Alberta end of next month, I think. So let's see if we can get it fixed up by then.
Ron, what happened to the trailer?
Somebody broke in to the container at the back. And you know the controller that moves the legs up and down? Yeah, they stole that. And somebody backed into the trailer and knocked out the front prop leg.
Was this when it was in Guelph?
No, apparently, and I didn't realize this, it's still sitting in the Surrey parking lot all that time.
I thought they shipped it back east.
So did I, but it's sitting in the Surrey parking lot, at least according to what Dav told me. And
crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's moved since Mick and I put it to rest in the parking lot there. So anyhow, we'll see. Parts are going to get shipped out, and we'll go install them. But the trailer, I think, has to go to a welding shop to be fixed.
So people are showing up gradually. I think we'll wait just a few more minutes, but we have three honored guests here tonight to speak to us about their EV charging and etc. supply company, Blossom. And I think I'll start in a few minutes, turn it over to them. It's VEVA member Nar, and the presentation is mostly going to be done by Kevin. And also we have Sam here. So the three of them are presenting to us about what their company is positioning themselves to do. They're a fairly new group. So I'm going to wait a few more minutes before we start. And if anybody has any pressing business they want to put in, I see somebody called Per, P-E-R, Per. Are you a new member? We always like to welcome people who are visiting us for the first time.
How do I plug in? Okay.
Yeah, I'm hearing you now.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yep.
I'm sort of a fairly inactive member. I've been, I got joined by my car company, the Westwood Honda people. I bought a Leaf back a few years ago. So I've attended one or two meetings earlier in life, but not beyond that. That's
okay, all. Well, welcome back. Glad to have you here. And how's life going with your Leaf? Are you a happy Leaf owner?
I'm very happy Leaf owner. Yes,
good.
I am.
Good. Glad to hear it. Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome back.
And Per, are you from Sweden?
Sorry?
Are you from Sweden, Per?
I'm actually sort of a half Dane, half Norwegian. My parents are one of each, and but I've been over here for most of my life. So
Right.
I came when I was in my 20s, and I'm way up there now. So,
Just tell everyone you're a Viking. That'll cover it all.
Okay. So I think it looks like most of us are here. So let's get started. So today we have a presentation from the company Blossom, and our VEVA member Nar Guman is arranged this with me, although he tells me that his boss is going to do the speaking. So Nar, I'll pass it over to you to introduce Kevin. And yes, we have started the recording, so that's good.
Thanks, Nar, and hello there, everybody. I'm going to do a share screen. Okay, you guys should be able to see my landscape there. I'm going to
Yes.
start the presentation.
just sit down and listen to it. I don't know what's going on.
You know what's in it, Nar. All right. Hey, Viva members, thanks very much for your time. I was going to move everybody's picture here away from my reading notes. Yeah, thanks for your time this afternoon and for the opportunity to share the work my team and I have been doing in the EV space. I'll have an intro slide coming up here. Here's the agenda. So just a few slides. Pretty concise. I'm hoping that we can have a friendly, engaging discussion at the end when I get to the questions slide.
Someone didn't need anything.
Our company's called Blossom EV. We've been in business since early 2021. Much of our initial work focused on market research and product viability evaluation. In fact, this started as Narendra's thesis project, and he was working on it long before I became involved. Nar's working on a business degree, and the Blossom concept started as his thesis project. He shared it with his professor, and his professor said, "Man, you have to do this." So Nar started work on it, and eventually I became involved, and Sam as well. Blossom's about connecting people. We aren't trying to capture any significant portion of market share for EV charging sales or anything like that. Rather, we're here to help ease the transition from fossil fuel to electric vehicles in Canada by developing a business that contributes to a cleaner environment and a greener future. That's very important to us and built into our core values. So here we are, the Blossom team. There's three of us. We were friends before Blossom, long before Blossom actually, and worked together in the past. Nar's our president, and Sam is in charge of government relations, and I'm CEO. We're all from telecommunications space and worked at one of the major Canadian telecom companies together previously. In fact, because of this, we all share a similar experience. We noticed a pattern emerging here in the EV space that we've seen before. In the early 90s, their first wireless companies began rolling out their digital networks. Digital was different than the previous analog networks because it required far more infrastructure. Specifically, wireless antennas were required anywhere a wireless company wanted to provide coverage. Prior to that, they'd basically build a tower and put some antennas on it over an entire city, and that tower, that cell site would provide sufficient coverage for that entire urban area. But the consumer demand for wireless access seemed insatiable. It grew fast and drove the need for more and more antennas. So as the technology advanced into the digital space, the antennas got closer to the ground and more required. The wireless companies quickly ran out of options for placement of the antennas using traditional methods, and this drove innovation, ultimately a fundamental shift related to how these networks were deployed. Eventually, the wireless infrastructure became integrated into our surroundings to provide us with the ability to use our phones when we were in an arena, underground parking lot, office building, or a recreational area, pretty much everywhere now. Something analogous is happening in the EV domain, and this is going to become increasingly evident in the years ahead. In short, the gas station refueling model will not work for EVs. Gas stations are refueling hubs. A hub system works fine for ICE vehicles because they're quick to fuel up. But if we try to use the same model for EVs, we should expect to experience massive lineups due to the time requirement needed to recharge. The real solution is going to require some innovation. Rather than creating refueling hubs, we need to build EV charging infrastructure into our surroundings, much like we saw happen with wireless networks, except for this is going to be even more aggressive and more of a pressing issue as things get closer to our 2035 Canadian commitment of zero emissions. To achieve the significant infrastructure upgrades are required immediately. Like, we're just not seeing enough infrastructure out there to make it. And ultimately, it's going to become a crisis. So really, we need to drive a lot of innovation in this space, and we need to focus on planning now. We need the ability to easily recharge our EVs anytime we're not driving them, basically. When you're not driving your EV, you should be charging it. As the deadlines approach, we're going to experience bottlenecks. The critical bottlenecks will be experienced in two areas: the equipment supply and the power grid. Stratas, munis, and organizations who proactively deploy solutions now will avoid the panic and will not have to deal with the madness as we get closer to the critical deadlines that are ahead of us. Basically, proactivity is key. As I mentioned earlier, we want to help ease the transition. The Blossom strategy is multi-phased with short, medium, and long-term objectives. Our customers include businesses, stratas, municipalities, and EV owners. We help on the infrastructure side by facilitating the deployment of good, cost-effective solutions and providing ongoing management services. We also help individuals eliminate range anxiety and travel uncertainties with the use of our e-trip planning and reservation software. Now you can share your charging system, generate passive income, and help other EV drivers when you're not charging your own EV. Right now, ready to start working with stratas, municipalities, and businesses on their EV-ready plans. We offer end-to-end services, including design, supply, installation, and ongoing management. We draw from our network of engineers, electricians, and in-house expertise to plan and execute the best solution for each customer. We can represent our customers through the clean DC approval process as well. For post-installation, we offer professional services, including energy management, customer billing, system maintenance, data analytics, and carbon credit management. And finally, eTrip, our software application, allows you to manage every part of your trip and to turn your EV charger into a mortgage helper if you want. Like Airbnb, you can choose to be a guest, a host, or both. So just to underline our belief in the importance of clean energy and the incorporation of that belief into our company's core values, there are a number of key milestones along the way. If this initiative resonates with you and you want to be part of it, visit our website and join the Blossom community. It's free, and part of our original vision that we will stick to is to provide a place for EV owners and enthusiasts to network and collaborate. We have lots of great info there, and we'll continue to build and grow with your support. So thank you, and please feel free to ask any questions.
Yeah, I want to add that, like, NAR, Kevin and I, we're coming from telecommunications, and um, seeing the changes over the last decade is an amazement feat. But at the same time, the way that the industry kind of treats the technological progression, from 2G, 3G, UMTS, LTE, LTE Advanced, now 5G, and 5G's got a couple more spectrums to grow. It's very reactive. It's not proactive in any way, and it's driven by demand. And with EV lifestyle and the changes that we're seeing with technology in cars, even with e-bikes, scooters, it's the flashy thing is in front of you, and it's nice to have, and it's right there, and it's driving a lot of demand, and it's basically causing a panic on the other side of the world, where we're like, oh, we need the infrastructure, we need the chargers, we need all of these things to go around. And my background is in urban planning, so I'm used to forward thinking 5, 10, 15 years, and we use data, and right now there is no data for the market demand for the use of EV, scooters, e-bikes, and the policies associated with that. So, but in our experience, we're trying to be as proactive as possible in looking at what this will look like, 5, 10 years down the road, as it is relevant to our Clean BC goals and Green City targets. Yeah, we're excited to present. We're here and happy to answer any questions, but we love to get your immediate feedback on what it is that we're trying to do, and the peer-to-peer network as our end goal there.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
So I'm just going to say, I'm just curious if any of you kind of see that happening. Do you feel like we're prepared with the amount of infrastructure we have out there now? Because eventually 2035, we won't be able to buy gas vehicles anymore. And then 2050, right, won't be able to license them. I see a major bottleneck there.
Yes. Before we open, I have one question. I think it's best if people have questions that they raise their hand. And so I'll try and moderate a little bit here from the host chair. And the first hand that was raised is Kelly Carmichael. So Kelly, why don't you go ahead?
So it sounds really interesting, but what do you actually have the ability to do today? Like, you talk about a bunch of things, and it sounds like it's forward thinking about what you're going to do. But what can you do today?
Nart, would you like to take this, or shall I? So in summary, NAR, we could say right now we can do the hardware install. We can do definitely the planning, all the real estate consultation, permitting, engineering. We can install the energy management via Emporia. We can install the Grizzly chargers. So that's our short term. That's what we can do right now. And then we can provide the managed services piece. So we can basically do turnkey planning and installation for municipalities and stratas and business customers end to end. Then we can do the professional management ongoing. We can measure how much power is consumed at each point. We can provide that information back to the customer in whatever kind of report format they want. And we can even take that through to invoicing individual customers for their usage of the energy and carbon credit management. So longer term is continuing to develop our own hardware. So we have the prototype from China that will proceed to CSA approval and go through all those hoops that you need to go through. And then continue to develop the applications. So the end goal here is to have that application out, and we like to describe it as the Airbnb of EV charging. So essentially, you can do a charging session anywhere where anybody else in our network has a charger. You can plan it, book it, no waiting in lineups. There was a famous meme going around Facebook last year of a lineup about 1 kilometer long and hope people with their Teslas waiting to charge them. This way, you can book a session if you're driving to Revelstoke and you want to stop in Kamloops or whatever. You can plan that session, stop at somebody's house, charge your EV, carry on. That was a lot, I know. Sorry.
Okay, that sounds very intriguing. Let me just follow up on that point about the chargers, because having done a couple of cross Canada trips, well, one as far as Saskatchewan and one as far as Newfoundland. The problem with the vision as you see it, and let me just acknowledge that Harvey's raised his hand, and I'll get to you next, is that I don't want to charge at level 2, and nobody has a DC fast charger at home.
It's coming.
It's
coming.
Maybe eventually they will. Yeah.
There's one in China already. Just like we've already done the research and have the partners, so it's coming. So
until that comes, and thank you for that vision of it coming. That'd be very nice. It doesn't really do me any good, even if I know I can drive right in and I've got space booked, I'm going to be able to charge. I can only get 45 kilometers an hour. And if I'm trying to get across the country, the next charger's maybe 200 kilometers away. I need to put on 200 kilometers. I'm going to have to sit for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Good
point.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move to Harvey's question. Yes. You want to comment more on that? Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Playland, concerts.
Right.
It's not really designed for the cross-country traveler right now, but if say you want to go to Playland, you need to park your car, why not charge it while you have it parked there at somebody's house? There's lots of scenarios where it makes more sense than the cross-country trip.
Right. All those people who park in your garage to go to Playland, right? The local residents that let you park in the garage. They just need the charger in the garage, and they can get that as well. Yeah. Okay, let's go to Harvey. Has his hand up. So Harvey, go ahead.
Well, the question, Don, that asked is basically the same question that I had, and so I got a lot of those answers already. So thank you for asking the same question that I was about to. So that's obviously a main concern, and I just like Don, I've done a lot of cross-continent trips. And one thing I can tell you is in 3 years ago, when I first went across the country, the infrastructure was not the greatest, to be honest. But last summer I did it again. And this time it was at least 15 to 20 times better. And I can see, for long distance travel versus your regular everyday travel in a city where you're not in a long distance, I think it's two different markets completely, really. I think, where ICE vehicles are being, fueled up, I think will eventually be converted where possible to level 3 charging. So that they can fuel up in 10, 15, 20 minutes if it's a high-speed charger. And this is already happening right now with Electrify Canada, where I think they have about 32 charging stations right now across Quebec, Ontario, Alberta, and BC. And they have a plan in place to increase their stations for the next, I think within the next year or two, to double that and include every province in Canada. And they've done a great job. Their sister company, or the parent company, Electrify America, is aggressively installing these high-speed chargers where there's not just 4 chargers at a station, there's as many as 10, 12 or more. And when I first went across the country 3 years ago, I was the only one at those stations. But that's not the case anymore. There definitely was a lot of foresight by Electrify America and Canada, sister company, to develop these stations. Obviously they started putting them in 3 years ago, but the foresight, which you guys, Kevin, Sam, and is it Nar? I'm not sure if that's correct. Nar. I think the biggest. I see what you're doing is a great thing to do. And the demand, like you say, is going to be huge going forward, and it is starting right now. It's not, so I think it's important to really get those MURBs going. Anybody that has a private residence, it's relatively easy to get a charger installed, but it's really the MURBs and other, not just for residentials, but also for businesses to have chargers for their employees. But I think that's another area that needs to be addressed as well. Anyway, I think what you guys are doing is great, and I'll let you guys continue. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Harvey. That's a great comment. And just reflecting on what you said, just noticing the growth that you've seen in your 2 trips across Canada. 2035 isn't that far away. And I think that as the deadline approaches, people are going to start to panic, and you're going to see massive uptake and, people buying EVs even ahead of the deadline. And then you're going to start to see congestion at the charging stations. So even if you have 20 chargers at what used to be a gas station, it's going to be a nightmare trying to get in and out of there. And then I think lineups, even at 15 minutes of charge, you're going to see lineups down the road. I really believe we have to integrate this stuff everywhere. Like anywhere you park, you should have a charger and be able to plug in.
I don't disagree with that. Instead of having, like, when I park my car on the streets of Vancouver, I live in Vancouver. I put in my money in the meter, and they're actually taking away those meters. They're having the part of the street having the same code for parking. But they could also have, where those meters were, the infrastructure for chargers should be there as well. And if you're parking downtown, I think wherever there has been a parking meter, eventually there could be a level 2 charger. I don't think it's necessary for level 3 within the city, definitely level 3 and the interprovincial highways, and of course in the United States as well. So I think the applications for types of chargers depend on the needs of the EV driver public going forward. And I think if we focus to those needs, which you guys seem to be doing, but I think it needs to be fine-tuned a little bit. I think a lot of this infrastructure can be addressed fairly easily with simplistic ways for stratas to implement what they need, and take away the strata board, the strata property manager, and the individual strata owners to work together to find simple solutions to implement these, the necessary infrastructure. And it's going to be more and more stratas that are starting to do this, because they see, the commitments of the governments and of the automakers, that's where we're heading. So now that we know where we're heading, it makes it easier for everybody involved to make the right decisions. And of course, the right decision is to implement the infrastructure. And what you guys are doing is going to help implement that. So I think that's great.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have one more question in line, which is from Harry, but I'm going to jump in with my own question here again. And that is, how optimistic are you guys, given that you've seen this transition as you described in telecommunications, where it happened very fast, the demand grew very fast, and more or less, I would say the technology managed to keep up. The infrastructure was built fairly timely compared to that. Kevin, you've a couple of times said, produced this image of long lineups, which are definitely, driving across the country, I found it very easy to do 3 years ago, although there weren't enough level 3s. I had to stop at level 2 sometimes, but there were very few lineups. But if you look at all those cars going down the highway and imagine that they're all electric, the infrastructure is very, very different. And I believe it is quite possible the future will hit the wall. So I just want to know, generally, from having seen this technological transition happen in a different field, how optimistic are you that this is going to be relatively smooth and it's going to be accomplished? Or do you see some specific bottlenecks in terms of providing the hydro, or where might you see those bottlenecks?
Yes, I identified 2 bottlenecks in the presentation. So one is just on equipment supply and supply chain. And we're seeing issues with that in pretty much everywhere right now. There's just so much inflation. It's the price of everything is through the roof right now. And it's hard to get goods and services in a lot of spaces. I think that one's manageable though, but the power grid one I think is critical. That's a big deal, right? And that's where I say, and I really believe that proactivity is key, that those who move now and get the infrastructure in place are going to be in a good position. Those who wait for it to become a crisis, they're going to get left out. They're not going to have access to the the available energy, or maybe the equipment that they're going to need to to build the infrastructure. So there's going to be haves and have-nots, I think, at the end of the day, as we start to get to those artificial deadlines that Canada has put in place. I think it's just math, right? It's just math.
I want to add that every community is different. So with the explosion in our experience for wireless growth and those demands, each community that we install and deploy it varies. Primarily because each municipality and community has different rules, different policies, different ways of.
I think Sam froze. It's a good place to freeze though.
So similar to our approach of am I back?
Yeah.
I was going to say that. Let me stop my video. Am I there?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Okay, good. It's my video then. So with EV, we're going to be focused more around the heavy destinations, the commercial spaces. We know people want to get to farmers market. We know people want to get to commercial areas and those destinations, it may warrant the fast charging. And our app will have a filter that you can decipher between regular slow charge or a trickle charge or a fast charging. So nonetheless, but the uptake of that in deployment and the uptake of this electrifying the grid problem, it's going to depend on how cities cooperate, how communities cooperate, how stratas work together, and we want to essentially just lend a hand in all those. And I know the reception is going to be different for each of those communities and each of those stratas. But whatever we can do now to lend a hand, it's all for the greater good of this longer term vision.
Right. I'll just, you've reminded me that, in fact, we feel pretty good. I just got my internet upgraded, new modem and everything. The videos are downloading very quickly, but you've reminded me that I do hear of some of these First Nations remote communities and they're still on dial-up so yeah, maybe I was a little glib about saying that the technology's really kept up especially for the rural communities. Yeah. Okay. So the next question comes from Harry. So Harry, jump in and.
Yeah. So I have a kind of a point and a question. And I think the first point is, I think this whole idea of being able to share your charger is really, really great. And one that for myself, I've got all these neighbors with EVs. Half the time they're not even plugged in, and I'm at home and I don't have a charger. And it would be so great for me to set up some relationship with them and to facilitate that. I think is great. And also going back to your the road trip point, like especially with the lower level chargers, like being able to book a charger at the place that I'm going to stay. If I'm going on a long road trip, I have to stay somewhere overnight. Even if I have to book a charger and walk to a hotel or something in somebody's garage, I think that's a fantastic opportunity there. So really, really great work on that. My question though is, we've got these targets. Do you really think Canada is actually going to make a move and start getting there? Because right now they're just targets and there isn't really any kind of teeth or kind of mandate around it. Where do you see, I'm sure you've done a lot of digging on this and we have our thoughts and feelings on it here too, but where do you see the government moving on that in the next few years? Are we going to go down the California route of certain percentage of EVs, zero emission vehicles, that type of thing? What are your thoughts?
NAR's done a ton of research on this. Could you want to take this question, NAR?
Right. To rephrase my question, we currently only have a target, and we don't have any teeth to that target. And what would you, I guess, re-ask the question a completely different way? What would you like to see Canada do in order to make the industry reach our targets? What would you as an organization do?
And the power grid, right, Nar? The bottlenecks. And remember, necessity is the mother of innovation. We're gonna see innovation in that space too. You're gonna see solar solutions at the consumer level and other types of solutions to try to offset some of that, I would imagine. But absolutely, like, address the bottlenecks now. If we're gonna move from fossil fuel to electricity, well, let's make sure we have enough electricity then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Harry, you made a good comment about the peer-to-peer app too, and I just wanted to get one more point in about that. The peer-to-peer app, we expect to kind of function the way that Uber, Airbnb kind of apps work, that there will be a feedback mechanism. So when you go and use someone's charger, you'll have an opportunity to leave feedback. And we expect that people who view this as a legitimate business opportunity will take that seriously, and they'll innovate. They'll find ways so that when you come, you won't just be parked in your car in front of their house. Hey, maybe they'll have free Wi-Fi. Maybe they'll invite you to come in and watch a movie with them. Like, who knows, right? There'll be innovation there, though.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Okay. Kelly's hand has gone back up, and let's go with Kelly and Harvey. Are you wanting to get in too? I see your hand back up. Let's go with Kelly first.
So I was curious about how you guys are going to do this peer-to-peer network, whether you're using OCPP chargers and OCPI to do a peering, or is this all custom stuff that you guys are using? Because I took a look at the charger website, and it doesn't look like it's an OCPP. So just curious about how this is going to work.
Nara, would you like to respond to this, or shall I? Just for clarity, you don't have to use our charger. You can use any charger. This is just a over the top. We call it an over the top solution where we just provide the software and we facilitate the the transaction, right?
So who does the authentication and stuff to make it so that so I can't just plug into a charger if it requires authentication. So I'm kind of confused by that statement that,
Sorry, which statement is confusing?
well, if you plug into my charger at my house, it won't charge your car until you tap a card or you authenticate on the OCPP server, or using another app that uses OCPI to talk to my network. So you're saying it doesn't actually prevent you from charging. You just kind of scan a QR code, and it's kind of, I don't know, managing, like not really managing it because it doesn't have control over the charger, but it's going to set up some sort of billing as a how do you, so it's just kind of, yeah, well, it's like, it seems like you're saying, okay, I'm a nice guy, I'm gonna donate $2 to you because I'm using your charger, and I'm not gonna pay $2 directly because I'm forced to, but because I'm using your app and I'm saying thank you for letting me use your charger.
Yeah. Our current software, like we have developers, like none of us are here are electricians or electrical engineers or anything like that. We have people, we have partners that are working on the application right now. And we haven't decided whether they're going to host it for us or whether we're going to create our own back end, or whether we're going to go with somebody different. So that's still a part of it that we're working on.
And Harvey, do you still have a further question? You're muted, Harvey.
Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment in regards to one of the key factors for this transition to EVs. And a lot of people are thinking, and rightly so, that where's this power going to come from with all these new cars going to be, using electricity? I mean, we talked, I think it was Kevin that talked about, Site C. Will still be will almost be full with the capacity when it does come online. But there's a lot of things that are happening in the infrastructure, regular EV infrastructure right now. Like I'm just going through a home reno, and my light bill is going to be way, way less because the lights that are being used are all LEDs, and that's happening everywhere now. And that's an energy saving. Also, there's I believe BC Hydro, and I think a lot of other provinces and states are using electrical management where the cost of electricity is way less in off-peak hours, and that's another saving.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is just the shift of all these suppliers to the traditional gas and diesel suppliers for ICE vehicles. They won't be needing to use as much electricity in their production of fossil fuels, so they're going to be saving there as well. And I'm sure there's other savings, but I really feel the main solution is solar. I really believe
Mm-hmm.
that. And eventually all new homes that are going to be built in North America and around the world are going to start having solar panels. And solar panels, 10, 20, 30 years ago were very expensive, but the cost of solar panels is coming down significantly, just like anything that's in mass production and economies of scale. So I think maybe, in areas where you don't get a lot of sun, even then it makes sense to do solar panels. And obviously it's happening more and more wherever you go. So I really think that, people that are not only needing more electricity, but they could actually be selling it back to the grid in many cases.
Yeah.
So I really feel that solar is really a way that people will start to realize that really is the future. And, it's not just on your homes, but in areas like BC where, we have hydropower, lots of rivers, and Quebec is another good example of that. But other provinces in Canada, I'll talk about Canada right now. It's going to be kind of ironic that Alberta, with their oil sands, They're getting a lot of pressure, to clean it all up and all that. Everybody knows about that. But the interesting thing, I did a drive, going across Alberta, southern Alberta, and in Brooks, Alberta, there is massive solar farms. And this is in Alberta. And even we go through Lethbridge and you see hundreds or thousands of windmills, producing electricity. And this is happening in Alberta. And you take a look at Saskatchewan and Manitoba and on southern Ontario, where there's lots of wind power. But, we get sun all over North America, all over the world. And I really believe that solar really is the real future, because it's less. And I remember even as a child, watching, solutions to the world problems like hunger and energy. And they were saying that the sun gives us more power than we would ever possibly need. And we don't need to burn fossil fuels. We can get that energy from the sun directly. And solar is the way to do it. And of course, with battery technology getting better and better and better, it's sun shines, wind power is only part of it today. And the batteries will all this excess power can be stored when you're collecting it, and then being used when you need it, when the sun or wind doesn't give you the performance that you need.
I love it. Yeah, it's clean. You can't get any cleaner than that. That's the cleanest, and ultimately, all energy comes from the sun originally, right?
That's right.
It's transformed. Yeah, I love it. No, I totally agree, and I think there's going to be lots of innovation around solar energy for sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Nar.
Yeah. So 2025, the city of Vancouver mandates that all new houses don't have any natural gas in them. Everything is on the electric grid. And then right now, obviously, with the rebates for greener homes, they're pushing the heat pumps rebates for retrofits. But yeah,
I'm just going to interject here because I just had my home renovated, and guess what I installed? Can you see this?
Nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you see this? Okay.
Yeah.
So, and in my stove is this. You see that?
Wow, that's really nice.
Okay. So I'm not only an electric vehicle advocate, I really try to believe in the future. And when I had my reno, my contractors never brought up, putting a heat pump. It was my idea. And then when I saw the heat pump and where it was located, I said, well, in the winter, it's going to be producing heat. And we have this vaulted ceiling here. And I said, well, I need something to push that air down so that it's more efficient. And it also makes it easier to cool the house as well. So it's just another way of saving energy. I have these baseboard heaters, electric, and I think in the winter, I'm not going to be using much electricity from those baseboard heaters, which are not as efficient as a heat pump, and the fan takes up so little energy. It's ridiculous. It's like, the other thing I want to say is that I think BC Hydro, like, they have this step 1 and step 2, right? And because I'm and I'm always conscious about turning off lights and keeping electricity levels low, and I want to always, be below that step 2. But when you have an EV, it's impossible to keep below that level 2. And I think that BC Hydro should implement a higher level of step 2 before you get to step 2, if you have an EV and having it installed in your home. I feel like I'm still trying to be as energy efficient as possible, and I think BC Hydro should be, give me a break and all EV owners a break on the level 2 step where they have it. And you deal with government, so maybe you can lobby for that.
Sam.
yeah, that's for sure.
I'm in the same boat where, I never paid level 2 in my life until I added all the electricity and got rid of a lot of the gas in my home, including charging the car. And today, for the first time in my life, I turned my heat pump on to cool the house. So I've joined that party too, got rid of the gas heater in the house. So.
Yeah, right on. I have an electric baseboard, and I've been thinking about the same thing, Harvey. That's very inspiring to see that you've done it. That's good.
Harry, your hand is up. Are you wanting back in, or is that just left up from?
Yeah, just a quick point on the comment around kind of Site C and the amount of energy and transition there. Like one of our board members has done a study on that as an engineer. So it might be worth just sending us an email and I can connect you with them, but it's not as much more energy as you'd think. The biggest one is what we were just talking about, and that's heating and natural gas, because of the amount of energy there. I don't know if he's already published that study, but it was a surprisingly smaller increase in total power on the grid than you'd expect.
So that study is, just so I understand, that's very interesting. The study is on the impact of complete transition to EV cars and the impact that will have on power consumption.
Essentially, yeah. And then, well, a little bit more in depth than that, but a move to electric vehicles and the extra load that it would put on the grid, based on a lot of the. I'll if you can shoot me an email, and we can connect on that, or shoot VEVA an email and I'll get it and connect you. See if he's ready to publish the study. I know he was working on it. If he's ready to publish it, maybe you can take a read. But yeah, it's just it was a very surprisingly small number. A lot less than people think, and the biggest issue we're going to have is actually heating and cooling. Air conditioners are definitely not the way to go. They draw a lot from the grid, but heat pumps and things like that are more efficient. But still, like, it's an increased load. So,
yeah,
that's great news.
The other thing we've heard by sitting here in these meetings all the time, and this is totally like I have no access to the stats or the numbers, but somebody said that the amount of electrical energy to produce the gas to drive a car 1 mile would drive an electric car 1 mile without producing the gas. And so I don't know. I mean, there's hundreds of ways of counting and so many factors involved that a true figure probably isn't findable. But we are using a lot of energy to pump the gas up out of the ground, to heat it up to fantastic temperatures, to refine it. And all of that energy, this claim was made that energy could drive a car as far as the gas and you wouldn't need any more energy. So I don't know if it's true or if it's not true, but I think it's probably close enough to be true that it needs to be factored into saying, look at all the energy you're burning to drive these electric cars. You're burning a lot of energy to drive these gas cars too.
Yeah, it's a great point either way, and it seems plausible. Yeah.
And that's the same point that I gave, when I first talked about solar, just before I talked about solar panels.
You did mention it, Harvey. Yeah.
Yeah.
That there's energy involved in producing that gas. Yeah.
I didn't know how much it was, but that's great information. It would
I
mean
don't know how
that,
much it is either. Somebody made that claim, and like I say, there's all sorts of ways you could count and come up with different numbers.
Yeah, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it's still a saving no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So as there's a lot of people we haven't heard from. Does anybody else have comments? I'll make one other comment about your presentation, and you have a lot of good ideas, and I'm on board with all of them. My feeling is that the biggest bottleneck to getting people into electric cars right now is the home charging, and especially the multi-resident building charging. And if I was trying to save the world like you guys are, and good on you, that would be where I'd be trying to. And it sounds like it's one of the things that you're the closest to be able to ready to go on anyway.
Yeah.
But I think that really is where you could make a good business plan to get in there and start really helping people to transition to electric cars. Yeah, so I just wanted to make that comment that I think that is, and we've been talking about it endlessly here at VEVA. And I believe it really is a problem for getting people to buy into electric cars.
Yeah. If there are no other questions, I'd just like to say thank you all. Like the discussion after was really good. Like these ideas and comments really help us, build. It's great feedback, and it's inspiring too. So thank you.
Just personally, I'll mention as well that I drove across the country to St. John's, Newfoundland, all the way across 3 years ago, and I'm driving to Ontario this summer. And it'll be an interesting kind of study of what the charging network is like. My feeling is you kind of created a kind of a dire picture of what's out there right now. I believe right now the infrastructure is keeping up, and that it's very easy to drive across the country. I'm gonna try and proof that this summer, and I'm trying to drive 2 hours north of Saskatoon and up across the middle of Lake Winnipeg up to Peguis, Manitoba, a little bit off the beaten track. So I'll be able to see how because driving across the Trans-Canada, the infrastructure is there. Driving further north, it gets a little spottier. So.
Yeah.
But if you guys wanted to talk to me after I come back in September, I'd be happy to give you a comparison of what it was like 3 years ago and what I experienced this time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
especially you're taking the more challenging route. I'd love to hear how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I have one other question about your app. I use PlugShare. It works very well for finding a charger. And now you said that your app would include bookable things. And we had somebody a few years ago from California who was developing something, similar, like bookable, so you could book somebody's house to use their a thing and some kind of payment system. I can't remember. It was in California where the regulations are different. So, what else are you conceiving in an app that would make it more than what PlugShare already offers? Thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we've done maps on this and kind of what the app's going to look like and the features and all of that. And some we have kind of like short, medium, and long term, just to get it to market, and then what do we want to build into it as we continue developing it. But definitely off the bat, I love the peer-to-peer methodology and the feedback mechanism, and the ability to reserve, plan a trip, be able to plan a trip to where, say, if you want to plan your trip across Canada, you have an itinerary and you plan out every single place you want to charge your vehicle at along the way. That functionality for sure. I think that addressing range anxiety is a big thing, right? If you can eliminate that through good planning and providing the tools to plan well, then I think that's going to help really demonstrate the value of the application. I know, Sam, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think I go back to that vision, with the demand as people kind of get comfortable with electrifying their lifestyles. I think that demand and how we kind of grow will help kind of expedite the different types of charging speeds people want. And then, just like a highway, it's connecting people. Now this network is going to connect even more people, and everybody's going to be connected somehow on digitally, but now they can do so with their cars and kind of have a means of travel. But we also see like personal rapid transit as a long-term vision too, right? I know TransLink, wants a low emission vehicle target, but they're not saying zero emission completely. But I don't foresee them getting rid of their trolley bowl buses for a long time, because it costs way more to purchase new ones than to keep the ones running. But yeah, it's going to be a great future, and I think we're excited, and we want to make this happen, and we want to essentially electrify the grid as best we can, and help with this increased demand when cars actually do arrive and get on the roads, and people do travel and trying to find their new destinations, and also people working remotely. If they're not having to work from home now, that's also changing the landscape of where people are actually living and working.
True.
Yeah. No, it's been good. Thank you for having us. We appreciate the time and feedback. We really take this to heart, and we'll for this presentations.
Yes, thank you for coming today and sharing your vision with us and sparking a good discussion. So if anybody else wants to put their oar in the water here, last chance before we.
I was just going to say, I think you guys have a great opportunity with strata complexes. That's the biggest hurdle. Anybody I talk to that wants to get an electric car, they're in a complex. The strata council, as soon as they ask if they can pay to use the 120 volt that's in the garage, the strata doesn't want to know anything about it. All of a sudden, they just say, nope, forget it. It's too complicated. If you guys can help people in that regard, show how you can set it up, you can put in some chargers. It doesn't have to be maybe everywhere. I know they're trying to get that in new complexes, but in the older ones, the power grid within those units cannot handle it. But they could say perhaps have 5 or 10 units in a public area that maybe visitors come to. And if you had charges there where people would come in, like you say, reserve it for so many hours, that's a perfect opportunity. And if someone like you guys can handle the permits, the paperwork, and everything else that goes along, because that's where most people our age or whatever that are in the stratas don't want to know, because it's too much red tape. Red tape bothers everybody. If it's not easy, they don't want to know.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. We've heard that. We've heard that more than once. So and we've kind of tailored it for that purpose. We want to make it easy. We just want to, make it as easy as possible for the strata and for the customer. We can do as much as they want. If they like, We can take care of everything. I even have to worry about it.
That reminds me, Dave. Do you have more, Dave?
Nope, that's fine.
It just reminded me, just pursuing what Dave said, I had meant to ask and forgot that the EV Ready plan that BC has the big subsidy for requires you to install power, not necessarily the chargers, but the power for one stall per everybody in the building. But it's expensive. You're talking $80,000 or something for the plan, and 40,000 it's going to come back to you or whatever. It's a big project, but people want electric cars now. They may not have 80,000 now, and I would think it might help as a transition, because probably by 2035 they're going to want every stall, because everybody's going to have to be buying an electric car. Mind you, a lot of people's cars, when they will last another 5 to 10 years after 2035, because that's just when they stop selling them. It's not, they don't pull them all off the road. But it seems to me, to get people going, to have a quick, easy solution to put in 2 or 3 level 2 chargers. You only need to charge once or twice a week. And so, you could have 10 electric cars in a 100 place condo with a much smaller investment to put in 5 level 2 chargers in guest stalls or something like that. And I think we could speed things up by packaging something like that for condos, and then only the people who have electric cars. Because one of the problems is people who don't have electric cars yet don't want to vote to spend money to put in electric chargers. This way, you could say these are for, if you bought into this plan, we got 10 people in the complex, and we're going to put in 5 chargers for those 10 people, and do it for 10,000 instead of 80,000 or whatever.
That has to be an option for sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I agree with that. I mean, I know that officially it's not the most efficient thing to do. You're supposed to, so that deal with all the upgrading, the electrical upgrading that's needed right at the beginning now, and get everybody powered up, ready for the future. But we have a pretty small strata, and the 40 amp that I put in 9 years ago, we've now got a switch going so that another new EV owner can use the same. You can use the same circuit. And honestly, the other person on the other side of me and the other person on the other side of the second EV owner, so basically 4 of us could easily share this 40 amp circuit. And because as Don said, that we're only charging up really twice a week. So I do agree that it gets EV chargers in visible sight being used, and other people in the strata can see that the EVs are there and they're charging, and it doesn't cost much, and we can all be enthusiastic, etc. So I think it's still worth pursuing that, even if strictly speaking it's not the most efficient pathway.
Yeah, but sometimes those solutions they make sense because they're cost effective and they get the job done right. So thanks for sharing that. That's great.
One thing I do want to add, though, is a comment saying that not everybody who doesn't have an EV, they don't want the charger. But now I'm talking to people that I know, and I talked to people that had to make a vote that was a member of a strata, and that person didn't have an EV, but he wanted to vote for the chargers because he knows that down the road, in maybe a year, 2 years, 10 years, he's going to have one. Plus, when he sells his unit, if he does sell it, he's added value to his condo. And every home, every condo owner, strata owner that puts a charger in will automatically add value to their home. And people want that, whether they use it or not.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is, I do want to bring up another company that has put in 200 MURBs in British Columbia. And you may have heard of them, Electric Asset. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, it rings a bell.
Anyway, they have a very good model of doing something. And I mean, I think either way, you may want to check out their website to see what they're doing as education for you, to see what they're doing, because that's exactly what they're doing. Is they are making it very simple. They're dealing with the government. They're dealing with they deal with everything. They're a turnkey operation to get everybody on board, from the strata owners to the property manager and to the strata and the strata council, all on board to make it super easy, whether you are a owner of a EV or not. And you only have to pay for the chargers and for the hookup if you're using it, but it actually will give you the infrastructure down the road, like adding a charger, only then, not if you don't need it right away.
Yeah, makes sense.
So you have a choice. You can get every stall electrified, to get the hookup to that spot, but you don't necessarily have to add the expense of the charger.
Yep.
Yeah. The infrastructure for the cable and everything just yeah, that's right. And also the management systems now are such that you can use existing, in most cases, actually almost in every case, even though you think that the power won't be available, but with the new energy management systems, if there's not enough power, then the chargers don't charge. It's only charging when there is sufficient power. And there are times in every building where there's excess, and that's when the chargers are being used and being shared on an equitable basis, even if it's just a trickle charge, but they'll get charged. And because it's level 2, charging, not level 3, whether you get in 2 amps per 2 kilowatts, 2 kilowatts per hour, or 8 kilowatts per hour, or only 0.5 kilowatts per hour, it's only happening when that is available. So I think Sanjay from Electric Asset says they have yet to have an incident in the 200 MURBs that they've already completed that they had to add to the grid of that building for more power because of the energy management system.
Right. Yeah. Yep. That's great. They'll even only charge during off-peak hours, right, when the rates are lower and stuff like that too. That's great.
Anyway, you can find them on their website. They have a website, electricasset.com, and they're looking for partners. So there may be an opportunity there to work with them. And
absolutely,
you're creating. I think what you guys really want to do is create like you talked about, the research that you're doing and all this, and see what their model's doing. And they need people like you, I think, to spread the word and to you're looking for the back end, and they're doing that.
We'll definitely be checking them out.
I have to ask, which cell company did you guys work for way back? Because I started with Cantel, which was Rogers, and then also TELUS back in the 90s. I started with the brick phones, and everybody back then was complaining you could make a call in your car, but when you got on the handheld, it was dropping calls, and that was basically because the car phones were 3 watts and the handhelds were 0.6.
Yeah.
And the cell towers were so far apart that when it do a handoff, you drop the call. So
I started at West Tower in 1992, and then I started at Rogers in 2006, I think.
I can't remember what year it changed from Cantel to Rogers.
Yeah, it's going back for sure. Yeah, I don't remember either.
Yeah, crazy company to work for.
It sure was. Yeah, the wild ride.
So, hi, I have So, a suggestion for you guys. I think you're looking at people who have installed charging capacity, but they're underutilized, and they want to make, to get back some of their investment, right?
Mhm.
So I was just thinking this building at 16th near Canby. Are you familiar with that one?
Well,
It's a strata that has 4 chargers in the back lane. Only one of them is public, but they're giving that, or they used to give it away for free. I don't know if I haven't seen it, but you might approach the management of the building and see if they want to, because I never see it used for ever, except that public charger. So you might want to contact them, and they might be one of your first customers.
yeah, thanks
Gordon,
very
is it on
much.
PlugShare?
It is on PlugShare,
Okay.
but it's really hard to get to.
Mm.
You think you're turning into a dead end lane, either direction. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you made a note. I think that's Sam's neighborhood, isn't it? He's probably closest. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's actually, the building fronts on the 16th, and it's just about half a block west of Canby.
Great. Thanks, Gordon. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, what's your website, please? Is it blossom.com or what is it?
Blossom. Yeah.
Blossom EV. Thank you. I have an interesting situation at my home. I've had a charger at home for 3 years, and 2 years ago, my neighbor, which is part of a 4 complex in our own strata, 4, they've been, they were going to put their own charger in. I said, listen, I got my charger here. You can use it, and we can figure out, how much the monthly amount would be. And I've kind of been doing it for $30 a month. And she would give me a check every month. Now they want to put their own charger in, and I'm saying, great, that's fantastic. But it just seems like, it cost me $1,800 to put that infrastructure in, and the price is up. They're even the same guy I'm doing, and they're going to be charging her well over $2,000 because of 3 years later, inflation and et cetera, right? Mm-hmm. But part of it is like, I feel sometimes that maybe they should be paying me more or less, or, I don't know. It's just a rough estimation. In your system, in your Blossom, and is there a way, like we have a strata and we have an account within our complex, so there's 4 meters plus the one for the strata for like the external lights, that are around the building for security, and powering up the electrical room so it doesn't freeze the whatever. Anyway, do you have an app that she could use my charger, and my other, one of the other people also interested in getting an electric vehicle charger? It doesn't make sense to me to have, 3 vehicles and possibly 4 in the future. Why do we need 4 separate chargers for each individual? If we had an app that we could just schedule when we need a charge and just pay it through their credit card or whatever. Is there an app for that in your system? No, I mean, a lot of times, no, that's true. That's true because, I mean, she got pretty, while my place was being renovated, I was in the living at my place for 11 months. And so she had the free use of it anytime. But once in a while, it'd be like maybe once a week or once every other week, I would come in and I would say to her, I need to charge my car, and she'd have to move the car. So, it's an inconvenience for having to move all the car all the time. But usually I play golf on Sundays and she has the full use of that, and she only needs to charge usually once a week. So it was for the first year and a half, it's been no problem. But I feel bad that she's going to have to pay $2,000 to get, plus a Tesla charger, home charger, which costs another $600, which she has an adapter that can be used my J1772. So if I can show her an app, and I don't mind giving her my thing, and then we both know that we're being charged or reimbursed equitably. So you have an app for that now?
I think the EMS that we have right now might be able to do that, Nar. Maybe we should look at it offline. If Harvey, if you want to connect with us offline, we can look into it and see what we can do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, can I just give you my email address or in the chat?
Absolutely.
Or just here, it's hsoicher@telus.net. So HSOICHER@telus.net. Yeah. And if you can email me with the information on how I can solve that problem and save them some money, and they may want the inconvenience or they may not.
Sure. Yeah. I would love to help out if we can. We'll definitely get in touch.
Yeah, maybe.
So Harvey, your charger isn't Wi-Fi connected, correct?
No, it's hard. It just goes directly into my own box. I had to get a separate fuse box, but it goes right into my own hydro account. So I'm estimating, we both estimate how much, kilowatts per hour she uses. Sometimes it may be less or more, but it's been $30 a month for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And of course, my step 2, goes up, but because she's using it, my other energy goes down. I mean, I was getting, you only get charged, I think it's 9 cents a kilowatt hour, and now you pay 50% more than that. So, I mean, it's still cheap, but it'd be nice to get. I guess I'm paying a lot of money, but I'm always trying to be the best miser I can be.
What brand is your charger, Harvey?
Pardon me?
What brand is it?
Audi.
No, your charger.
Yeah, Audi.
Oh, so it's from the manufacturer where you got your car. The one
it came with the. Audis are expensive, but they include the charger, so that's a deal.
Okay. Yeah, because usually the chargers they give you, they come with a J1450 plug outlet. So
mine comes with a 1772, plus it has an AC 110 outlet as well. I can interchange, which I've never used, by the way, the 110.
So your actual charger, have you got it in a box that's locked so nobody can unplug your 1450 plug end?
Yeah, it's a 1450 plug. It just goes right in. I had to get the plug installed, the 50 amp plug, which my charger pulls 40 amps. And the charger is locked to the wall that it's located on, but somebody could, pull out.
Plug it.
If somebody had their own charger, they can go to my place, pull out my plug, put in their plug, and they get free electricity unless they got caught.
Yeah.
Or they could just use my charger.
Yeah.
Because it's just sitting there and you can plug it in without having a key. I mean, one thing that I could do is I could turn the power each time I leave, which I don't do.
Oh, there's better. So let us look into that. So like we have the partnership with Emporia. They might have a product. If not, I have some partners that do home automation that I know that might be a little bit more expensive, but that it definitely the solution is to control the power supply, via software, right? So we have to look into those different solutions. Happy to look into it though, for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? Everybody that's got a Tesla charger that's sitting in their garage, it's not, unless they turn the power off manually, I'm sure they don't have a software solution that cuts that out. And I bet, a lot of people have it in their garage, or they have it outside their garage or outside their car or their carport. And, anybody could just go there and park, but I mean, most people, I've yet to have that experience over 3 years, at least not that I'm aware of anyway.
I have the curbside charger in front of my house, just on the street. and I have it on a switch, so I just got a breaker inside. I turn it off, and it's so. The city insisted, incidentally, that I'm not allowed to share my electricity. I'm not allowed to share my charger, and I signed a contract with the city that
Really?
Even if somebody comes over to my house, I'm not allowed to let them plug into my charger out on the street. I have no idea why they wouldn't allow me to do that, but that was their lawyers seemed to think there was great liability issues or something. So, but
Wow.
in the years that it's been there, I think I've had it there for almost 3 years now. I've twice seen people plug their car in quite innocently. It's out there. It's a charger. It looks like a charger. They say, "Oh, I'll charge my car," and it's normally, unless I forget to turn it off, there's no power to it. But so they're kind of disappointed, and I go out and talk to them if I see them. So, that's my situation. I've had twice in about 3 years. I've seen people plug in. Some people may have plugged in there when I wasn't looking to. So, but yeah.
That brings up another point, and that is, according to Measurement Canada, it brings up the charging costs, whether right now it's by time, and everybody's trying to lobby to have it by power usage, like the actual kilowatt hour, what it is. In a home situation where you're sharing it with the strata members, or in your situation, guys, with anybody who has the app or wants to use your charger from the public, and they want to go to your parking pad and use your charger, it would be it has to be charged by I would assume by kilowatt hour, but Measurement Canada is not allowing you to do that right now. Anyway, how do you deal with that?
I mean, we can do it by hour too, but it makes way more sense to do it by kilowatt hour. Either way, I mean,
well, it totally makes sense to do it by kilowatt hour. Same way when you buy gas, they don't charge you for the time it takes you to gas up.
Exactly.
They charge you how many liters. But right now, by Measurement Canada doesn't allow any charging network, including BC Hydro, to charge by kilowatt hour. It's all by time.
Silly.
The logic
Well,
is
there
that you've got a very expensive piece of hardware that's sitting there idle when you're charging a Leaf or an iLeaf. Because Kelly can speak clearly on it because he knows all about it.
Yeah, that's
Kelly. So the issues right now is that so for level 2 chargers, there's no level 2 chargers that have been certified suitable for dispensing energy by the kilowatt hour. That's being easily addressed by Measurement Canada, but they want to implement new regulations, which means you can only sell by the kilowatt hour, not by time, no idle fees, no parking fees, no other kind of fees involved, just by the kilowatt hour. And for the DC side, they want kind of the same rules implemented, but no utility has ever sold DC power. So there was no regulation for what a certified meter should have to pass for certification. So they don't have any testing any testing procedures set up to certify a meter that it's accurate. That's the big issue for them, is that they have to set up certification standards, and then they can go and take all these meters that exist that are very accurate, that haven't been certified, and certify them, and then implement them in products. So that's why they can't sell by the kilowatt hour currently.
Interesting.
And the certification costs money, which adds to the cost of the charging. So giving it fair charge on the kilowatt hour, everybody's going to pay the same, but it's going to be a lot higher because it's fair.
Yeah. So what will happen with the level 2s? A level 2 can dispense about $600 worth of electricity in a year. Well, you're going to have to pay $1,800 to Measurement Canada to get it recertified every 18 months to dispense the $600 worth of electricity. So if people think they're going to get a deal because now they're going to move to kilowatt hour billing, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. As I say, it's a case of people wanting equality, but equality may be paying the same price as gas. That would be equality for everybody.
Well, maybe they'll, when you're dispensing fuel, there is high volume of fuel, in a public station, and it's a different way to monitor. But electricity is super easy, and there's nothing really to certify it. I don't think.
You've been asking for certification for 2 years now. I keep hearing it, and if you listen to Kelly and listen to what he actually says, it's the wrong way to go.
No, but I'm saying, why do you have to pay the certification fee? The electricity.
Because you've been asking for it for 2 years.
But why does? I know, but who cares whether it's certified or not?
Measurement Canada.
Yeah, well, the hell with Measurement Canada's got. Maybe we shouldn't be needing Measurement Canada in this situation, in electric vehicle situation.
Sounds like archaic policy and just slow government movement.
Right, exactly.
Surprise.
You'll end up with 11 eggs in your dozen. So when you go to the store,
I can tell you
no one's who's counting, eh? Right.
So back in 2014, when BC Hydro started deploying DC fast chargers, they were telling the municipalities who were owning the station or leasing the station from BC Hydro to charge 35 cents a kilowatt hour. That would cover the electricity costs. Within 6 months, Measurement Canada was knocking on their door saying, what are you doing selling electricity from these uncertified DC meters? You guys need to stop. We understand that it's a nascent industry, so we're not going to do anything today. And BC Hydro said, fine, we understand that we can't do that in the future. We will not install any new stations that are charging by the kilowatt hour until there's a certified meter.
Another example.
What could happen? So Tesla is in an interesting position here right now where they're charging different prices based on how fast you're charging. So if you're under 50 kilowatts, it's one rate. If it's over 70 kilowatts, it's a different rate. Over 90, it's more expensive. For them to know how fast you're charging, they have to read a value off of a meter that's not certified. And so if Measurement Canada decided to be mean to them, and I'm surprised Tesla would be kind of poking the bear as they are right now. Measurement Canada could go back to them and say, you're selling stuff illegally. Please refund everybody who's ever paid on the supercharger network in Canada.
Well, it's not just Tesla. Electrify Canada has two rates as well. One 90 kilowatts an hour and less, and one rate 90 kilowatt hours and more, because their charger can go up to 150.
They do it differently. What they do is that when the car connects, the car says, I can charge at a maximum of 77 kilowatts. And they use that number to decide what price you should pay. So they don't actually measure how fast you're using it in order to set your rate. The Circuit Electric in Quebec is doing it, well, to what I think is illegal, as well, like Tesla is, but no one's complained to Measurement Canada yet for them to open an investigation.
I'm pretty sure Tesla has awesome lawyers. They'll probably be okay.
Well,
I think Measurement Canada has all the power. They're sitting in the top.
No, it's silly. I mean, yeah, it's another example of government getting in the way of doing what makes the most sense. Is bad government policy or archaic, outdated policy. But
so I mean, you've never heard the term "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
That's funny. Yeah, they'll get there eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think
and the electricity would be 35 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
Because everybody's been saying, oh, this isn't fair. I'm paying more than somebody else. So now everybody's going to pay a really high price.
Yeah, so
Right.
I figure it'll be about 80 cents a kilowatt hour on the, or more, yeah,
Wow.
But it'll be fair. Everybody be paying the same.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
that's a separate charge. That's totally separate.
That won't be for the case for those of us who have got charging at home and are paying 9, or if Harvey's complaining, maybe 14 for the level 2.
Well, I can see, you know, everything is digital now, and your car has GPS and can communicate by internet. And I think it'll be. I don't think there's ways that the government can collect road tax, transit tax. You know, like through how many kilometers that your car has been driven in the province, and they can probably calculate that, and they'd send you a bill. Computers.
ICBC has started asking you to take a picture of your odometer because they'll give you a reduced rate if you drive limited kilometers. I think it's quite limited, 5,000 kilometers in a year or something. You get the reduced rate.
Yeah.
So,
that is
they're almost
the goal.
already collecting that information. Yeah,
Yeah,
not
so
for everybody. You don't
in
have
the
to.
near future, they will start offering insurance that has the road tax built into it. You pay by the kilometer, and they will audit. They won't need you to take a picture of your odometer, but what they will do is they will ask you what your odometer reading is, and when you sell the vehicle, if you've been lying, then someone's going to get a big bill for the kilometers that weren't accounted for.
Anyway, this is a disruptive situation. You know, I mean, the EVs is a disruptive technology, and there's going to be ways that we're getting a great deal because we're not paying road tax or transit tax. But if government takes their time on this one, I don't have any problem. But realistically, we should be paying the tax. I feel kind of a little bit guilty that I don't feel bad about it, but I do feel a little bit guilty about not paying the road tax. I mean, and first of all, I don't feel guilty one bit, though, not paying the high price of gas. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Ron, you have your hand up. You want to get in?
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, Harvey, you're talking about feeling guilty about not paying the road tax. Let me give you something to assuage your guilt.
Good. Let me hear this.
Yeah, and this is for people who drive gasoline cars and say, "Oh, you EV drivers, you're not paying your fair share." Electric vehicles offer a social benefit each year per car of about $6,000. So we're paying more than our share, because I don't think most ICE vehicles are paying $6,000 a year in road tax. So we're actually, even though we're not paying road tax, we're helping the economy out by $6,000 a year. And that social benefit is lower health costs, better longevity, less productivity loss due to people being sick, that sort of thing. So it's all distributed, but it's in there.
Ron, now that you're in, I wanted to ask you, I believe that the electric asset, Harvey was talking about electric asset. Do we not have a recording of their visit with us?
Yes.
Did we get that one recorded? So
if
you guys wanted to have a look at what they're about, they did a session similar to this with us a while back, and I believe it's on our YouTube, on the YouTube.
It's on the website. Actually, if I can
the website.
On the add to that, Don, Sue Cornfield has just done an update on the website for us. So on the main page, there's a panel there that says weekly meetings, and in it there's a red little flag that says recordings of the weekly meetings. So just click on that, and then you'll see all of the meetings that we have recorded and that we've posted will be there. So it's very easy to find, very straightforward. And for any of the members, because people have been asking to have it on the website for a while. And then we got it there, but it was kind of hidden away. So now Sue has moved it to a prominent place, and it's easy to see.
Thank you, Sue. Very good.
Fantastic.
Okay, then I think we'll wrap this up there. And I'll say thank you to all three of you for joining us today. It's been a worthwhile talk, and yeah, we'll try and keep in touch, keep spreading the news. Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah, good.
It was a sincere pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, a worthwhile session. Okay, Ron. Yeah, so I think you could stop the recording there, and I'll just say that
recording stopped.
The recording has stopped. I think you often break them in two, and I think there was a kind of the presentation is fairly short, and then there was a discussion, and then the first notion of maybe we're finished now is maybe a good time to divide it. Then the second half of the discussion was much broader and not so focused on Blossom, but maybe we want to post that all as well as a second half or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, just for our guests, I'm using video editor, which just comes with Microsoft Windows. So kind of rough editing, and it tends to crash a lot. So I found that if I divide the video up into sections of about 30 minutes each, it tends to run a lot better. So typically presentation would be one, and then the Q&A to that presentation would be the second. So like Don says, I might even divide this into threes, Q&A 1, Q&A 2, which I've done on some of the other videos. And probably in about a week's time, if you want to come back to our website, you'll see our video on there. And feel free to contact me and say, hey, that was stupid. Don't do it that way.
Cut that little bit out.
Maybe you can say how wonderful it was if you want to say that.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Ron.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You're
You
welcome.
guys can become VEVA members too,
Yeah, I'm a Viva member.
Kevin, are you a member?
Yeah, I am. I've attended a couple of meetings.
I have seen you here at the meetings.
I've been pretty
before,
quiet. I usually just listen. Yeah.
I thought I'd seen you here before. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, good on you, you guys. That's great.
Yeah.
And it's too big for anybody to be doing it themselves.
Yeah.
And we can everybody can learn from each other and find the niche that works best for your capabilities.
Yep.
Anyway, so great to have you guys on today. I really enjoyed your presentation and the talk after.
Thanks. I did too, very much.
Yeah, I saw it there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. I think that's it for tonight. Is anybody wanting to hang around a fair bit longer? I could make somebody else the host and